What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is David Hanlon, aka the Laptop Legend, and today, day trading, I made just over $3,900. Now, if you're a beginner and you're not this profitable yet, definitely stick around to the end because I have a lot of really helpful insight on the amazing setups that I used to make this much money today, and I actually want to talk about how I left a ton of money on the table, what I could have done better today. So those lessons are really going to help you guys if you stick around until the end. I also have some really good setups for tomorrow. We had some crazy panics today, which are probably going to lead to some great bounces tomorrow. We had some stocks that went up really hard at the end of the day, which means they're probably going to run tomorrow. So we got a lot of plays for tomorrow, and I want to make sure you guys do not miss this. So hopefully you will find this video helpful. If you do, please be sure to smash the like button. It really helps out the channel. Subscribe if you are not currently subscribed, because it also helps out the channel, and I really appreciate it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's dive into my laptop so I can show you guys these charts. All right, guys, so this is the chart for Humble in the last 2 days. Again, I was long here from 266. I talked about it, I made the video, and it had a really nice gap up. Again, this is the history with Humble. All you have to do is go back and look at the charts, guys. This thing has a history of gapping up after green days and, first green days, and it did just that. So even though it didn't close ridiculously strong, it was still pretty far off that 330 high. It actually gapped up over that 330 high, and it started selling off a little bit at open, but it didn't break down at all. And then it spiked a little bit, but it didn't spike as much as it should have based on the fact that it didn't break down. And because of that, it ended up tanking below those lows and going all the way down here. Now, when it broke down below 330, I ended up selling a third of my shares. So I sold a third at 330 right here. And then I ended up selling, I believe, the rest a little bit later on. So I sold a little bit more right in here. I think in this area, maybe when it made a new low right here, I think I sold a little bit, and I may have taken the rest off when it started coming down. But then when the CEO was starting to speak, it started spiking up, and I figured it would bring in a crazy wave of volume. Right about here, you guys can see this increase in volume. That was right when the CEO went back. He went on CNBC, and I ended up buying 3,000 shares here. I can give you the exact entry point. Yeah, so I bought 3,000 shares at 335 right here before it started spiking. When I started to see the volume come in, and then it just went absolutely crazy, ripped all the way up here. I ended up adding more shares. I bought 2,000 more shares at 353, but it failed to keep spiking, and it didn't break out past this high very much, and it kind of felt like the same thing. So it spikes up here, and bounces, came all the way back up, and barely broke out past this high, and then since it didn't break out hard past the high, it made a new high. It should break out a lot. It should spike hard. But because it didn't do that, it rejected and came all the way back down. So when the same thing happened here, I'm thinking, all right, this is getting kind of sketchy. So I ended up selling all of my shares right here at 353. I sold them all at 353. And the next thing you know, the price is back down here at 330. And he actually stopped speaking, right around here in this area. So he hopped off. And that's when it turned into full panic. So he finished speaking on CNBC, the CEO, and everyone just started selling. And it really was impossible to get executed on a sell. And there was probably a ton of slippage for people with a lot of really big sides. I hopped in short, and my best trade on this side was, if you see here, I got 5,000 short from 316, and I tried sooner. I shorted here, and I ended up covering at let's see where I covered. I covered at 297. So I shorted here, and I ended up covering right here. And that was a decent trade, but I left a lot on the table. And again, I think this is just part of the reason is Humble is one of those stocks where people like to buy the anticipation of the news and then sell the actual news. In this case, the anticipation of the news was the fact that the CEO was going on CNBC. So the stock went up a lot because of that. It went up for my entry around here. And it tanked after that because the catalyst was over. He went on and then he finished. So that's why it tanked. That's why it sold off really hard. Also, she was probing him pretty hard about questions about the revenue of the company. And I think he probably could have been a little better prepared for those questions. Now, I think nothing has changed long-term for this company. I think if you want to hold this long-term, I still think it's probably a decent investment. But this is what happens when you get a lot of people who sell the news. That's what happens. So Yeah, I mean, I still think it'll be interesting to see what effect the app release on Friday has. I think it probably can spike up on that if they do a press release on Friday morning. So we'll see what happens. I don't think it's over for Humble at all, but it's just interesting, you know, that it sold off that hard just because he stopped talking. So pretty cool chart. Definitely a lot of opportunities here. I mean, some panic dip buys. I would have nailed these if I had any buying power on the long side. This was a gimme. I mean, this was an absolute gimme right here. This thing sold off way too much. So I would have bought there for sure if I could have. So always some opportunities on this stock, and I absolutely love it. Now, to go on to the next one that you guys really need to watch for tomorrow. ENZC. This stock absolutely sold off ridiculously hard today and closed down 41.5% on the day after bouncing. After bouncing, it closed down that much on the day, which is pretty nuts. Now, the reason that it tanked was because of what they said at the Emerging Growth Conference. So if you guys weren't watching that, a lot of these OTC stocks present at the Emerging Growth Conference. Their CEO goes on and speaks about stuff. And apparently at this one, he said something about their product not being ready to take to market for like a year or something. That's what I heard. But apparently it honestly was somewhat decent news overall. Just, I guess people want results now and they're not willing to wait that long. So that's why they sold the news. But apparently the company talked about fully funded clinical trials for ITV1 and potential collaborators, big pharma, etc. There's patents and stuff like that. So I think long term, if you want to invest in this company long term, I still think it bodes well. But in terms of day trading, man, crazy stuff. I was actually on a phone call, so I didn't see it until right about here, I want to say. Maybe right about here. No, I saw it right here. Yeah, so I saw it right here, and the bounce failed hard, so I started shorting this thing, and I made a decent amount of money, honestly. Made a decent amount of money. If I caught it here, you know, when it was falling here, broke down below these lows, man, I probably would have made, I don't even know how much on this. I mean, I probably would have made $5,000 on this trade alone, if not more. So pretty insane trade. But here's the thing, guys. When a stock sells off 40% in a day, typically speaking, you get a pretty nice bounce. So I'm not sure if that happens tomorrow. But it feels like kind of an overreaction. So we'll have to see. Maybe we get one more red day, but there's definitely going to be a bounce in this at some point. So be ready for that, guys. I'll be looking for that. I'll definitely be looking for that. And, you know, I'll be calling out when I want to get in this in the Discord, as always. So be aware of that. ENZC, definitely one you need to keep an eye on. RGBP, guys. RGBP. I've been talking about this one for a long time. There are opportunities every single day on this stock. And this is, again, the one that came from 0.002. I mean, literally came from nothing, went as high as 8 cents, had a huge red day, pulled back. This was actually a red day until it squeezed into close and bounced really hard. Bounced really hard and closed right at these highs. So right at the high of day here. So when a stock closes this strong, there's this much FOMO buying, typically speaking, they gap up the next day. So I kind of expect that to happen, and it would be really cool if this thing continued to go, and if this thing broke out past those all-time highs at 8 cents. Apparently the due diligence on this stock, again, is really good, so I hope it happens, man. I hope it happens. There should be a lot of room to the upside, and the more it goes up, the more room there is to the downside. So this is a day trader's daydream, man. It's absolutely beautiful. So I love this stock. When you get rips like this, it's insane. And there's so much liquidity that you can take really big size. Now, if I go and look at this, you can see today it traded less. But I mean, what did it trade today? $1 billion? It traded 1 billion shares today. You know, 1 billion shares, cool billion. Yesterday was 1.4 billion. Day before, 1.9 million. I mean, a billion, 1.9 billion. So there's a lot of liquidity. You can take 500,000 shares on this stock easily, so there's a lot of money to be made. Keep that in mind, guys. Absolutely worth looking into. Let me talk about LTNC really quickly. This is one that had an insane bounce. I was making some good money shorting it here, but then gave back a decent amount here on this squeeze. A little bit annoying. And then I missed this sell-off at the end of the day. I did not mean to draw a line there. So this is one that I've heard a lot of bad things about, and because of that, I tend to be more, bearish on this particular stock. Now, I haven't done the research at all, but there's some pretty heavy promoters on Twitter who like to pump this thing up, and typically speaking, that's not a great sign for the actual integrity of the company. I don't know enough about this to really judge, but there's still a lot of volatility on this, and definitely worth looking into trading. Whether you want to short this thing or whether you want to buy the dips, because there's room to profit on both sides. I mean, look at that. Literally bounced as high as where this started, if not higher. I mean, that's crazy. Absolutely. It's nuts. It's nuts. So just tons of room to profit. There were a lot of opportunities to this, guys. There was a lot of opportunity. And Coin, this is probably one you guys want to hear about. So COIN, this is the Coinbase IPO that happened today. I tried to buy in here. I tried to buy in with a limit 400. Did not get filled. Could not get filled at all. Went as high as 429. I definitely would have taken my gains. And then it just started selling off hard, man. I tried to short this right here. There were no shares to short. And then this thing just faded all day long and could not find a bottom. I guess it finally found a bottom here when it double bottomed at 310 and then made a higher high. That's typically a good sign you should be going long on a stock like this. That's how you know you should be going long, when it double bottoms and makes a new higher high. Because I don't think it did that really at all. I mean, maybe it did that here a little bit, but then it broke down below. You would cut there, and I mean, it never made a higher high, never bounced higher this entire run. Absolutely nuts. So this IPO'd at 250 and ended up opening at 380 and running to 430. And the reason that this thing tanked so much apparently was the fact that insiders could sell on the open market today. So any insiders, I guess, I don't know if they got in it. I don't know. I don't know if they got their shares at 250 or they had shares because they are part of the company. They were dumping them. So it caused a huge sell-off, and the retail market could not make it bounce really at all. So I mean, this was a little bit of a bounce, but 310 to 344, that's a pretty lame bounce, honestly. I mean, it should have bounced, I feel like, at least to 360, maybe 365, 370, but lame. I know someone who lost 1.4 million on this trade trying to buy the bounce. Pretty insane. So just got to be careful, guys. Just got to be so careful. I don't know what this stock does. I mean, it looks like it's kind of squeezing in after hours, so it still could be interesting. But I actually ended up losing $300 overall on this trade because I ended up trying to dip buy somewhere in here. I might have chased. I forget exactly. No, it was, yeah. So it was right in here. It was in this first little zone. If I can pull it up. I was dip buying it in here, and I bought too big. I bought 100 shares, which was like $40,000. Every dollar that it moves, you lose $1,000. No, you lose $100 with 100 shares. So it dropped $5 a share on me with 100 shares. That's $500 loss, which sucks. I didn't realize I was taking that big size. And here is the bad news, guys. If you made it this far in the video, you probably watched most of my videos. I screwed myself over. So COIN was a NASDAQ. And on Schwab, NASDAQs are supposed to be marginable. Here's the thing, though. Any IPO stock is not marginable for 2 days after its IPO, which means that to trade this stock, I had to use settled cash. And if you trade a stock and then sell it with unsettled cash, it's a good faith violation or a free ride violation, which is a bad thing. And I think I got my Schwab account restricted, so I'll know more tomorrow, but I think I may have screwed myself over. So I may not be able to trade tomorrow at all. I already sent $30,000 to be wired into another Schwab account in case this one gets restricted. So if it is restricted for 90 days, I would only be able to trade on settled cash for 90 days, which means I wouldn't be able to short, which means the account is like worthless to me. So hopefully I don't get it restricted, but I feel like I will, because I think I traded 300 shares overall, 300 shares times $400 a share when I was trading them. I mean, you do the math, guys. You do the math. That's $120,000. So in a $43,000 account now, there's no way that I had $120,000 in settled cash. So I think I had a violation, and I think I may be screwed. Now you do get one freebie, so I'm not sure how that works. So maybe I'll be okay, but I'm assuming I won't be. So hopefully I think my wire will send tomorrow morning, and then it might, clear by the afternoon. So maybe I'll be able to trade tomorrow afternoon, but I may not be able to trade tomorrow at all. We'll see. I'll keep you guys posted, but Coin is definitely, one that you want to be watching. But I would say my biggest watch for tomorrow would still be RGBP because it closed really strong. It would be ENZC because it tanked so hard into close, and it would be probably humble because it also tanked really hard, and I'm just interested to see what it does. You know, if it holds this up, that'd be nice. You know, maybe it comes back and breaks these highs in anticipation of the app release. I have no idea what it does. You know, I think this was probably an overreaction to him hopping off of CNBC, honestly. I think that was an overreaction. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you did and you made it to the end, I love you. I'm kind of late on this video, so nothing cool today. I'm going to get something cool for you, I swear, if you make it to the end. By sometime this week, I'll have something cool to show you guys. But that's it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, you know the drill. Let's grow better together.
Preguntar, bebé, dime por qué te mientes. No puedes esconder todo lo que tú por mí sientes.